Ask Reddit on Reddit Rundown. Sex workers of Reddit, what is the worst request a client has given you? I punched a pillow as hard as I can for an hour, while saying his mom's name. It was definitely arm day that day. I haven't had too many bad experiences, but I did get a pretty unique request. So, I do online work. I had a guy sexting me one day who told me sponges turn him on. The word sponge, the smell of one, touching one, doing dishes, all of it. So, we role-played like I was washing dishes and I sent him a little video of me cleaning with a sponge like, look how soapy and sudsy my sponge is getting, I'm trying to clean up but I'm just making such a mess, and he ate that shit up. It's nice to get something completely brand new every once in a while, lol, plus I was getting chores done at the same time. One guy used to want me to make him come in a spoon and then feed it to him. That was weird. Another guy kept insisting that I tell him that I love him. That just made me sad. Not a sex worker, but I used to live close to a go-go bar in Thailand. I would eat in the same places as the workers there. Countless stories about men wanting to defecate on them or them doing it on the customers. One guy, he was very tall and wide. He rented all the girls in the club and the mama-san. Must have been 15 or so, they just had to lie next to him and cuddle for the whole night. Gave all of them a huge tip. Came in every night for 2 weeks. The bonus for me was that the place closed early and I did not have to listen to the crappy music every night. Some guy wanted my friend to shove a cucumber up his ass. He paid her £500 for a 20-minute stint with the cucumber. She did it gladly but was kinda concerned for the guy. Some weird ones. One client had a foot fetish and would spend his 45-minute session putting bulldog clips on the underside of my feet. It was pretty painful but I got paid well and didn't have to do anything physical with him. In the intro room the client told me he wasn't looking for anything physical but asked if I would walk on his back. Easy, I'm in. Go into the booking and what he actually wanted was for me to walk on his back in stilettos, engrave in, fake, initials onto his chest with my heel, stomp on his genitals, walk on his face, spit on and demean him. It was actually one of the most horrendous things I ever did. I'd rather bang a creepy old dude than ever take a booking like that again. I had a guy book an appointment. The screening and everything leading up to the appointment was totally normal. A few important things to note, he and I were about the same age, late 20s, and I do not advertise fetish. My brand is pretty much girl next door. I arrive, we chat a bit. Then suddenly he asks me to roleplay. Things escalate quickly as he wants me to be his stepmother and torture his balls. That appointment ended quickly. A guy wanted me to sell him videos of me pooping as well as sell him my actual shit and piss in a jar. It would have been an over $1,000 job but no way could I do it. Also was asked to sell a video of my boyfriend peeing on my face and in my mouth. Said no to that one too. I've been a stripper on and off since college. Long story FYI. My personal favorite, had an older guy come up to me on a dead Monday night. No other dancers there yet and I'm freakishly early for my shift. Asks me to sit with him so I'm like okay why not. A waitress comes by and takes our drink orders and happens to wish me a belated happy birthday from a few days prior. The customer goes oh, happy birthday, and hands me $50. So I'm like cool, maybe this guy will spend a bit. He up front says he won't do dances or rooms but he'll pay for conversation. Every 20 minutes or so the guy hands me a $100 bill. I'm stunned because this might be an old school strip club customer thing. But it's far from the norm nowadays. He's there almost the entire night, and I obviously make quite a bit and can tip out everyone really well. He's from out of town says he'll be back the next day. Tuesday comes, he does the same thing. $100 bills all night. I don't make quite as much but still a nice amount. He says again he'll come the next day. Wednesday rolls around and he says he wants to chat with me. He had been trying to schmooze me with all this I'll be your sugar daddy bullcrap, so I assume he's gonna propose an arrangement. As an aside I have a steady boyfriend who I live with so I wasn't interested, just wanted the customer's money at work. He tells me there's an issue with his bank. He claims he can't take money out of any ATM in the city so he wants me to loan the money back he gave me and he'll write me a check. Naturally I'm not an idiot, and have worked in finance, so I know this is a scam so I just say no can do I don't carry cash on me. He then suggests that I drive a half hour to my house and then back and that he really doesn't mind lol. Again, I say I'm at work buddy, it's not gonna happen. He says, I know you're wary so pull your phone out for me. I'm too entertained by his bullshit so I had to do it rather than just walk away. I'm so glad I did. He tells me to look up his name, as he was some big wig for a well-known bank at his branch in his home state. Says he's a well-known, respected figure in his community and would never scam me. Immediately I pull up the first article with his name and picture. This dumb guy has lost his banking license and had been arrested for fraud and writing bad checks. He not only had the audacity to request I lend him the money back that he spent, but actually led me right into evidence that he had already been found guilty for the exact crime and was going to scam me. A bit different from the typical weird requests from guys asking you to kick them in the balls or something, but still my favorite story. He had a load of big blackheads and dilated pores of whiners on his back and he asked me to pop them and eat them. I declined. This same guy liked being pissed on, being puked on and sticking his fingers up my nose and eating my snot. Also, one guy asked me to shit in his mouth. Nope. I sold foot pics / videos / Skype sessions a few years ago, before the market became absolutely flooded. I had a lot of people asking for me to stomp on small animals, bugs, mice, reptiles, etc. That's against my moral code, and icky, so I never did it, but even if I was willing to do it, they wouldn't pay very much for it. Also saw some messages from a friend I made in the business where some French dude asked her to cut off a toe and sell it to him, so he could eat it. Not sure if he was just trolling, but honestly, I would not be surprised if he was serious. Or of course there's the people who asked if I had any naughty photos of myself from before I turned 18. I knew a guy who started doing foot fetish work on Craigslist because he had huge feet. He'd go to someone's house and they would worship and play with his feet while they jerked themselves off. No actual sex involved. Then it escalated to where he started pissing on customers. Then one day a man asked to get shat on. It was a nice sum of money, so the guy laid down on the floor while my friend crouched over him and dropped a hot, slippery turd in the guy's mouth. Coworker used to work with a guy who was into scat. Except this scat involved a glass table. Apparently he liked the woman to sit on top of the glass table and shit while he laid under it and beat off. I dom online, well, one client really gets off on the whole human toilet thing and it's going fine, I guess. Make him lick toilets, degrading him, make him film himself so I can show other doms and they can all laugh at him cause he gets off on that shit, pun intended, but then he requests that I shit in a jar and mail it to him so he can eat it. So anyway, I know that's not incredibly wild, but it's the one that sticks out in my mind. Living in Athens, working for peanuts, I lived in a cheap apartment in a seedier part of town. I got to meet all the neighbors over the time I was there. The lady in the basement was running a brothel. She was usually the only one working. Every Sunday 3 men, an old man, a middle-aged and young man, would rock up and sit outside her door. One day, when we got on familiar enough terms, I asked her, "How come you entertain these 3, same time every week?" She said it was a tradition among some Greek families, this one in particular, that son, father and grandfather would call into a brothel and have sex on the way home from church. They were sharing the same prostitute. I don't know whether it is generally a tradition or not, but it was with this family. I work with a 94-year-old dementia patient. He wants to pay me $100 to just lick my big titties just once, sit in his lap, motorboat my titties, just let me play with you a little. Not a sex worker, but he makes me feel like one. Not a sex worker, but I had a guy ask me if I could get my dental records and read them to him. He also wanted to tell him how much pain was involved with my procedures. Another time, right in the midst of things, he asks if he can catheter me. Hell. I was out of there. Ex-sex worker but stepchild shit for sure, kink-wise. But honestly, any sex worker will tell you the worst request is constantly being asked to have unsafe sex or compromise your worth. It's the absolute worst part. I tried being a sugar baby for a short while, but ended up giving up due to me realizing that pretty much the only people contacting me were married and cheating on their wives. I realized that I was old enough to be some of these men's daughters, 21 at the time, and I just couldn't do it in good conscience. Plus, the pay was never what I expected, but at least I got some nice sushi lunch dates and one guy gave me an Amazon gift card, so that was A+, lol. Also, there was one guy that I had a one-night stand with that asked me to tell him I loved him. He was so hot, and probably the most physically attractive person I've ever been with. But it was weirdly too intimate and I never saw him again. So I have a genuine fear of balloons, latex balloons specifically. I've posted about it jokingly online, but for the most part it's not widely known. A man messaged me a few months back asking for feet pictures, and I was super excited that it had finally happened to me. I used to get so jealous of girls that would be asked for feet pics and turn them down, like honey, send them my way. Turns out, he has a foot fetish but he's also a looner. He has a balloon fetish. I thought it was a friend pranking me at first, but he was legit. He knows about my fear of balloons, so we've settled on using a beach ball as a compromise. Every few months, I hump a beach ball fully clothed for a minute or two and make big money. I used to know a sex worker, and she used to say that the most common weird thing she gets, which is actually really common, is guys wanting her to bend over naked and fart in their face. Many years ago, I worked security in a gentleman's club. Every 5 or 6 weeks this one dude would come in and have a special request. Always the same request. So, we put him and the lady in a monitored booth. CCTV so we can make sure there ain't no violence or shit. So anyway, this bloke's request would be to have our lady with the biggest natural boobs to be completely naked and wearing red high heels. Then he would want her to jump on and generally grind/stamp on his ball bag and penis, whilst making her boobs bounce as much as possible. He wouldn't get off until he was bleeding, then he wanted her to piss on him after he'd finished. Each time he'd be paying like £200 for this. He was a strange dude. I definitely got the rapey/stalker feeling from him. Easy money for the lady though. Not one myself, but have a friend who is. We discuss regularly what the clients do, anonymously of course, as sometimes a cathartic way to deal with her work. While this isn't gross, it definitely was the worst. So she ends up going to this guy's house who is about 60-70 years old, can't remember age. When she gets there, he tells her to put on a certain dress. She obliged, as sometimes clients want specific fantasies, and as long as it's not insane, have to let her know in advance, she obliges. He then takes her out to dinner and they have a wonderful conversation, and go back to his house. Now she was fully expecting to have sex with this man, but all he wanted to do was to put his head on her lap while he spoke. Eventually he spoke about his wife who had died recently and they have been married for 50+ years, since they were teens. Apparently, she had died of, I want to say cancer? The dress she wore was a dress the wife loved, but never had a chance to purchase, and the gentleman had said that my friend looked very much like her when she was young. Basically stayed there talking until he had his piece and paid her to go on her way. She said it was the absolute worst, not because of how disgusting or insane it was, but for how lonely she remembers the man feeling. She remembers him telling her he doesn't know what to do anymore, as he lost his best friend. Apparently, they had known each other before they were married. I remember talking with her over her phone and could tell she was hurt/affected by this client. She actually, off the books, called him/met with him, never anything sexual, until his death a couple months later. Mentioned how he went in his sleep, and feels like by talking with her he was able to feel at peace enough to let go. She helped him arrange finances, finish a will, leave money to his children and grandchildren. He even tried to leave her money but she outwardly refused and returned it equally to his remaining family. So yeah, not as disgusting or NSFW as some of these, and apologies if it wasn't what the prompt wanted, but still leaves a hole in the heart, so I thought it fit the worst. Edit, I will be sharing all your kind words with my friend, but I'm also sure she will kick my ass thinking I did it for clout or sharing her personal story. Hell, my wife would join in, and now I have a daughter, I'm completely outnumbered, send help. My friend is fine nowadays. She used this as a catalyst to save money and go back to school and has found a profession that is very similar to how she helped the gentleman in the story. Not sure what the amount he left her was, but I do know she immediately turned it down. The family knew her/knew what she did, and was extremely suspicious of her intent, very much the new hot wife marrying the older gentleman stereotype. But upon returning the money, the family, non-religious ones anyway, immediately flipped and really tried for her to keep a portion of the money for bringing their father peace. Still outwardly refused. We all grew up in an urban environment, and in our culture, we help because of altruism, not for money, spoils the act. When I said the older gentleman knew his wife before they were married, I meant that they were friends even before they started dating, like they were childhood friends. Sorry if that was not clear. Y'all saying she is a saint, I dunno guys. She got jettisoned in Among Us for getting caught and ousted me as the other imposter out of pettiness. That doesn't sound saintly. She is a great person though, and probably one of the few people I can count on one hand to trust with my child. She will legit cut a bitch for side glancing at my chubba wub reptar, and we have had on more than one occasion had to hold her back as she is more mama bear than my mama bear wife. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown, give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.